Week 14, here we go. Larry Hartstein, Will Brinson, RJ Wade, Claudia Bellofatto with you here on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Last week of buys, fellas. Panthers, Pats, Giants, Niners off, and then nobody's off. We got a full slate the rest of the way. Larry Hartstein, how we feeling?
Well, I didn't think I'd have the nicest background of anyone coming into this show. So that's an upset. I'm pumped for Thursday Night Football. This might be the best Thursday night game we've had all season.
We're being held hostage over here, RJ White. We are in Florida, though. We're at the CBS studios. Good Thursday Night Football matchup we're going to get into now. RJ, how you doing heading into Week 14?
Doing good. I took some risks on some dogs last week, thinking that, it's week 13, it's Thanksgiving. People probably haven't given up on the season yet. And we saw some ugly football from some of these teams last week. So that was on me for expecting competitiveness down the final 6 weeks of the season and maybe not check out until like 2 or 3 weeks left. So yeah, I'm really kind of reconfigured how I treat some of these teams moving forward.
All right. Well, we got a few more weeks to figure it out. Will Brinson, ready for Week 14?
I'm just excited to see what new joy the Carolina Panthers and what pain the Carolina Panthers will bring us as sports bettors, because I don't understand how you can beat the Packers, lose to the Saints, get blown out by the 49ers in primetime, and then just beat the Rams. Like, this team is the wildest roller coaster and perfectly emblematic of the NFL in 2025. By the way, why didn't we preseason parlay the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots to be the 1 seeds in their respective conferences? I mean, who didn't see that coming? What a season!
Yeah, we really should have known.
I said a combined 9-25 last year, and they're somehow both.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what it says more than anything, though. Really about the NFL is that coaching matters so much. And just to see what Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel have done with those top 5 quarterbacks, it makes you excited to see. It's sort of a changing of the guard here, right? Bills and Chiefs struggling, and the Pats and the Bears thriving.
Oh, you're speaking sweetly about my team, Will Brinson. That's nice. Rams taking out the Cardinals this week. We'll see if last week's loss was more about the Rams or the Panthers. But first, let's talk that Thursday night matchup Larry mentioned. Cowboys, Lions laying 3, total set at 54, and the hook. The look at here was Lions laying 6. So big move there. Open on Sunday, 3.5. We've lost that hook depending on where you're shopping. Dallas officially in the playoff mix. 3 straight wins since the bye. Lions coming off that tough loss to Green Bay. Amon St. Brown banged up with his ankle, so that's certainly a injury to monitor, but they say he should be available or could be available for this game. RJ, let's come to you first. You're looking at the Lions team total, but you're going under.
Yeah, I'm going under 28.5. I found around -110 at some books. I mean, you're right. It is a big move off the look ahead, but it's because Dallas has looked like the better team of these two teams, especially since the trade deadline when they got those upgrades on the defensive side of the ball. Questions about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know he doesn't have to practice to play. He wants to be out there every game, but I don't know if it makes sense to throw him out here on this. I know it's not a short week because they had 7 days of rest. They played last Thursday, but if this game was on Sunday, I would be a lot more of a believer that he would play in this game. I can see Dallas rallying back from a deficit. I think that's why 3 is probably the right number with their receivers if needed. But if Amon-Ra St. Brown's out, I don't know if Detroit can do the same with their beat up offensive line as well. We know they've had offensive line issues. So I like Lions team total under 28.5. It feels like a high total to expect with Amon-Ra St. Brown now. But if he's in, they can score 30 basically against anyone.
Yeah, that O-line, pretty much everybody outside of their right guard was questionable heading into last week. They're questionable right now heading into Week 14. And then Frank Ragnow came out and said, hey, I'm coming back. Just kidding. He's actually not coming out of retirement. So no help on the way there. Will, we'll come to you because you got a prop, and then me and Larry will talk grabbing the 3 with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I put this up on SportsLine.com, sportsline.com/join. Use promo code winners. Still Cyber Monday going on, right? Get in there. Look, Jameson Williams, anytime touchdown is basically even money, and it dipped down. It started to take a little market movement. It got down to -110, I think, in some spots. It's kind of come back a little bit, still plus money everywhere. I think the Lions might struggle a little bit running against the Cowboys here because Quentin Williams has made a massive difference for this Cowboys defense. As you mentioned, the offensive line for the Lions very banged up. Jahmyr Gibbs probably not going to rip off 3 70-yard touchdown runs against this defense. And I think if Amon-Ra St. Brown, even if he plays, there's still he's still got an ankle sprain. Like, I don't think he's going to be the focal point of the offense. And so with Sam Laporte out, I think this is a Jameson Williams game. Dan Campbell has made a point since he took over play calling to get the ball to JMO. We saw him explode with St. Brown out on Thanksgiving. And at even money, I think this is a really, really good look. He's done very well in primetime and can get after this Cowboys secondary. So I love a JMO anytime touchdown. I would lean towards the Cowboys here as well.
All right, a little even money action for you. Larry, take it away with Cowboys catching the 3.
Yeah, I like that look, Will, because it's not just Amon-Ra St. Brown. You also have Khalif Raymond, Sam Laporta. Other guys are out in terms of targets. But I think the Cowboys are the better team right now. The Lions could be on a 3-game losing streak if Mike Kafka had just kicked the field goal late in that game when the Giants had the 3-point lead, but he decided to go for it. The Lions come back and win in overtime. The Cowboys defense, like you guys talked about with Quinnen Williams, 3.2 yards per carry allowed. So I don't think that they're going to get pushed around up front by this banged up Lions offensive line. And I love George Pickens in this matchup. I mean, he has gone over his receiving yards in 7 straight games. He has 68 targets in those 7 games, which quick math will tell you that's almost 10 targets a game. The Lions playing man at the highest rate. They're playing single high safety at a top 3 rate, and he destroys those coverages.
All right, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll grab the 3 on the Cowboys. You mentioned that Quinnen Williams acquisition, certainly making Jerry look good. He's like, I told all of you. But the defense does look solid. They forced 4 straight punts last week. The offense looked solid, I think, against the Chiefs. They got a big stop early in the 4th quarter. So I do like the points. I think they're going to get some decent pressure up front and make it a long day for Goff, as we talked about with all those offensive line injuries and possibly your top receiver banged up. That is Thursday Night Football. We got the Sunday slate coming up after this. All right, heading to the AFC East, Dolphins, Jets. Dolphins laying 3, laying 2.5, depending on where you shop. I do believe there's some 2.5s out there. Total opened and was reopened on Sunday at 41.5, down to 40 in the hook, so some under money there. Dolphins have won 4 of their last 5. Jets actually coming off a win, folks. They erased a 4th quarter deficit against the Falcons to go 3-9 on the season. I'm seeing lots of Dolphins here, so Larry, I'll let you go first and defend the Jets here, grabbing 3.
Well, if you're going to give Tyrod Taylor a full field goal, all this guy does is cover 3 straight covers this year as an underdog. Now 24-12 against the number because he makes those big plays. He'll run when he needs to extend the drive. The Jets also have the best special teams in the league, and that has really helped them. They're averaging almost 30 yards on the kick returns. Nick Folk making the clutch field goals. You also have Tua going to cold weather, not terrible weather, but, weather in the 30s where he doesn't have a strong history. I think it's going to be a tight game. I got to take the points.
All right, RJ, and me and Will are going with the 2.5 if we can still find it, but you don't mind laying 3 with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I locked in 2.5 on SportsLine. I thought that, the market would probably move it to 3, and that's despite knowing Miami struggles when you get to these sub 40 temperatures, expected to be in the high 30s in this game. 23-38-1 straight up all time, 28-33-1 against the spread, so a little bit under 500 against the spread, but 1-8 against the spread since 2017 with 9 straight outright losses. Despite that, this is a much different Dolphins team than a lot of those teams that have played. They can run the ball well. They can play a little bit of defense. And I kind of disagree with Larry a bit about Tyrod Taylor's, playmaking ability. He did a great job on that handoff to Breece Hall. That was a 2-yard touchdown. It was a 2-yard touchdown drive for him. So good job, making that play. They had a 4-play drive that was 1 yard that resulted in a field goal. So good job by him there. I mean, that's 10 free points. I think they were pretty lucky to win that game. I thought they got outplayed heavily by Atlanta. And that's speaking as somebody who had the Jets last week. So it's only a lean for me with Miami with the cold factor at 3, 2.5. I do like playing it, but I think this Jets team could easily be winless, and Miami would be -3 if they were playing this game at Tennessee against a team that I think is basically shown that they are as bad as the Jets this year.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. It's been their defense and their ground game for the Dolphins that really, I think, turned their season around. The defense, especially, though, they're allowing 16 points a game over the last 5, 7 turnovers over the last 3, even after selling off Jalen Phillips at the deadline. And I know that the Jets have stringed together some wins, but it's been a common theme of either bottom of the league teams overall or just terrible defenses. I think the Dolphins will be able to get a few stops and play clean enough on offense to cover. Yeah, I mean, the weather's not ideal, but also I think they're better than just 2.5 against the Jets, even if they are on the road. Will, put a bow on Dolphins laying 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, like this is a ugly, early December, doesn't matter for the playoffs, AFC East battle for draft position. I do think we basically see a Devon Achane game, and he blows up in this spot, has a nice outing. You see the total 41.5. It's just going to come down to, do the Dolphins make the mistakes and set up the Jets for free points? I'm going to trust them not to do that, to feed Achane and to cover the 3. I don't think they're going to romp the Jets or anything, but I could see the Jets struggling to score here.
All right. As Will says, a game that doesn't really matter. One that does matter is over there in the north with the Steelers and the Ravens. Ravens laying 6, total set at 43. We did see this open on Sunday at 6.5, so lost the hook there. And on Sunday, guys, we heard fire Mike Tomlin chants. Not something we're used to hearing, but that was after the 26-7 loss to the Bills. They've now lost 5 of their last 7 games. Aaron Rodgers did get banged up in that game, but looks like he's all good to go. And then the Ravens coming off a bad loss to the Bengals on Thanksgiving. They are still, though, the AFC North favorite, so certainly getting the market respect there. Defense, which had made a turnaround, did not look good in that game, and the offense didn't help. 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles lost. So let's get into this matchup. And Will, I'll come to you first. You're going to lay the 6 with the Ravens. You'd like a bounce back here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, much more. This is not a good game either. This is a game between two teams who are not that great. I mean, the Steelers fans booed Renegade in that game. Like, they booed the playing of Renegade. That's never happened in the history of the franchise. It's crazy how things have gone in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers, just doesn't look right. And I know Lamar Jackson doesn't look right either. But again, like cold weather, early December, low total, smash mouth football. I'm going to trust the Ravens to get it going with Derrick Henry here. I think, he's kind of due for a big game. And we saw the Steelers give up, I believe, the most rushing yards in franchise history to the Buffalo Bills last week. So they're going to need a major, major correction on defense to slow down Derrick Henry. I don't think it happens on a short week. And I think Baltimore can kind of just grind Derrick Henry here, force Aaron Rodgers to throw a lot, or maybe Mason Rudolph to throw a lot. And then all of a sudden, you're one-dimensional, and it allows the Ravens to be advantageous on defense.
Larry, in agreement?
Yeah, last 2 meetings in Baltimore, 162 and 186 for Derrick Henry on the ground against the Steelers defense that was just on the field for 74 plays, gave up 249 rushing yards. Patrick Queen and Derek Harmon doesn't look like they're going to go as we speak here on a Wednesday. Those are 2 big losses in terms of stopping the run. You also have James Pierre, the cornerback, in concussion protocol. So I just think the Ravens, that was a somewhat fluky result. When you have a guy fumbling going into the end zone, when you average basically 6 yards a play and you have all the turnovers, this is a great spot on extra rest. I love the Ravens to cover.
RJ, we saw this open. I mean, the look ahead was 47.5 for the total, down to 45.5. We're seeing 42.5. It was 43 this morning, but you don't care. You're still going to lean under at least.
Yeah, if we hadn't seen that much movement, it would be a like instead of a lean.
Yeah.
But you might be getting the worst of the number here. I think what comes into play here is what Will said. The game plan for Baltimore should be run, chew up clock, see if that works. Even though their run game hasn't been as good as it was last year in some of those other Steelers matchups, because the offense just doesn't look right. You're right that Lamar Jackson doesn't look right, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look right. So let's play an under, right? Let's expect that these defenses are going to play better than the offenses in this crucial AFC North game. And that game last week, I mean, Baltimore got blown out by the score, in the box score, but 5 fumbles, losing 4 of them. Bengals were on the field for 80 plays, averaged less than 5 yards per play. I think the defense still did a solid job for Baltimore in that game. And they gave up less than 20 points in 6 straight games before that game. So I think they'll bounce back here. We're going to see a 2017 type of game here, 2014, 23-17, somewhere in that area where we're not getting anywhere, above 40, maybe 41 points.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with the market that it's going to be a lower scoring game, which is why the 6 worries me a little bit. I'll tease the Ravens down to a pick 'em with the Seahawks. Steelers certainly don't have the clutch gene this year. Last week's key second half possessions ended in a fumble, a pick, a punt, and a turnover on down. So I don't have a ton of faith in them to make me sweat this too much. But that being said, the Ravens defense was worrisome against the Bengals. Their offense was sloppy, and they're tied for the worst cover rate in the league. So I will tease them because I don't feel like sweating a game that is kind of gross. Seahawks, Falcons. Seahawks laying 7.5 total at, okay, we're down to 6 now. No, we are at 7. Down to 7, total at 44.5. There we go. Let's come to you first, Larry. You're going to grab the 7.
Yeah, the money's been coming in on the Falcons for a lot of good reasons. Drake London looks like he has a chance to play. Nobody's more important than him. They probably would have beaten the Jets if Darnell Mooney can simply catch the ball. I mean, that was an absolutely perfect throw from Kirk Cousins, who's playing pretty well right now. And the Seahawks, if you look at their last 3 games, averaging 4.4 yards per play. So the offense is not really clicking right now. And Sam Darnold dealing with an ankle injury. I just think there are paths for the Falcons to be very competitive here. The way they pressure the quarterback, top 7 in pressure rate, number 2 in blitz rate. Those are things that can give Sam Darnold a little bit of trouble. We're seeing the Seahawks, look a little bit more vulnerable offensively down the stretch.
Yeah, and their defense, people might say, oh, they made life hell for Max Prosper. That was his first NFL start, so I don't think we can take too much away from that. Although credit to them, 5 takeaways, 4 sacks, no points allowed. It's impressive, but still. We are talking about Kirk Cousins and the Falcons on the other end, though, coming off a loss to Tyrod Taylor and the Jets. And I know that 7 is a lot of points, but I still need some convincing, Will.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that this is a game I love because I am a little worried about Kirk Cousins being under siege from the Seahawks defense, but Larry nailed it. I mean, the Seahawks and Sam Darnold have been a little shaky the last couple of weeks. And if you get a good defense against him, you can put some pressure on Darnold, force him to make throws, jump out to a lead and then really force him to be, kind of a drop back passer instead of the play action guy. Like when he's throwing for play action when they're ahead, I mean, they are, they're pretty tough to beat. I also, Seattle, over the course of the year, you saw it against Tennessee. You saw it against Arizona earlier in the year. You saw it against Tampa Bay very early in the season. They've had these games where they've allowed teams to creep back into it. So if you're laying the full 7 here, I think you have to be a little bit worried that Seattle maybe eases up in the second half if they have a lead and Kirk Cousins can come through the back door. The Drake London factor is massive, though. He didn't practice today, Wednesday, when we're recording this. So, still up in the air, but certainly my fantasy team and the Atlanta fans hope that he's able to give it a go this week.
Yeah, I feel you. 7 is a lot. So I probably, if anything, if I had to play this game straight up, I would take it. That being said, I liked a lot of teaser legs. So I was like, oh, sure, why not? We'll tease the Seahawks. Because again, the defense has been solid not looking at last week, but the offense was concerning. They got home to Sam Darnold early and often last week, and that's certainly a problem against this Atlanta front. As we know, one of the higher pressure rates, 3rd highest sack rate. And last week, Kirk was fine. Bijan went off. We know that's the case. They controlled the clock. They outgained the Jets. But the fact is they still lost. They were able to keep it close, which they have been doing week to week. But the Seahawks do have the better roster. They have the best record against the spread at 9-3. So again, it's I don't want to sweat this game. I'm just going to tease them. Remind me, did everybody go there? I'm losing track.
Did we all go?
Yes.
RJ, talk to me.
RJ did not. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going with Falcons just in the first half, though. The line is 4.5. And, the way the first half works, it's hard to have a 5-point total. So you either switch between going the full 6 and you're getting close to what the game line is, or they're going to stay under it. So if we like the Falcons +7, I think we got to like them +4.5 in the first half, where I expect them to be competitive. Throw some stuff at Sam Darnold. As you mentioned, he has been struggling. So this is going to be a tight game early, I believe, with both defenses kind of, establishing what they want to do in that game. And then if the Seahawks get up in double digits, I don't know that Kirk Cousins is going to come through the back door against that defense. So I didn't want to risk that scenario in the second half, because I think the Seahawks might be capable of putting it away in the second half. But I do like the Falcons to keep it close in the first half.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy when you look at those numbers too. Sam Darnold was only sacked 11 times in the first 11 games, and they got to him 4 times in the first half. So that could certainly spell some trouble for this game. RJ, I didn't forget about you. I promise. I can actually hear you in the room next to me. So I'll come to you first for Bengals Bills. We're going to go with the Bills laying 5.5 here. The total set at 53 now, up from 52.5 this morning. Bills took down the Steelers to move to 8-4 in the season. Shocker. One of the first times it wasn't a Josh Allen hero day. Big day for their defense. And of course, there was all that debate about whether or not Joe Burrow should play, because the Bengals have, very slim chances, basically no chances of making to the playoffs. Well, they go in, they spank the Ravens on Thanksgiving. And now technically, guys, they could make a playoff push. They have a 6% chance right now. RJ, talk to me about Bills Bengals.
Yeah, I'm leaning to the Bills here. I have to worry about a backdoor cover from Cincy, of course, with Joe Burrow at quarterback. But the Buffalo offense should roll against this Cincy defense and just need some stops late to accomplish this. And that's kind of what they did against the Steelers, right? They rolled against them. They got all the stops they needed, and that game turned into a blowout. My ratings would put this at Buffalo -7. And that's assuming the Cincy offense is good enough to make this team average overall when you account for that awful defense, which, wasn't a great game for them. I know they were able to pick up all those fumbles that Baltimore did, but that's not predictive moving forward. So kind of a game where Baltimore probably outplayed them on the field, since he was just on the field for 80 plays, averaging less than 5 yards a play. So I'm not ready to say they're back, and this line adjusted from 7 off the look ahead to 5.5, 6 in some spots. I think 7 probably is the right number. So my lean's going to be the Bills.
This is my favorite kind of game, because every single one of us is on an opposite side when it comes to sides and totals. So you just talked about Bills. Will, talk to me about Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, look, they weren't perfect against the Ravens, and as Larry points out, a little bit fluky, but clearly Joe Burrow's return kind of inspired this team. Now, no Trey Hendrickson is definitely a concern, for that defense. I don't think that defense is what we're worried about here. I know the Bills played great defensively against Pittsburgh. I think this is a different animal, with a fully loaded Bengals offense coming to town. And this is a spot where Joe Burrow has been awesome in Buffalo with the chips down, knowing that they have a legitimate chance. And by the way, they've beaten the Jets in that 38-39 game, 3 or 4 weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. They're just right there in that division right now. So I think the Bengals play inspired. I think they keep it close, and I think the Bills' defensive performance against Pittsburgh, I don't want to call it fluky, but they've just been up and down at best this year with these spots where they pop up and play great defense when they really need to. I think a little bit of a letdown spot for Buffalo defensively. Joe Burrow takes advantage. They keep it within 3 or 4 points, maybe even pull off the outright upset.
Larry, I know you like the over. Is part of that thinking that maybe that Bills defensive performance was a little bit fluky?
Yeah, well, I can't believe that Will brought up the game that knocked me out of Circa Survivor. I was just getting over it when you had to bring up Bengals Jets. But I think the Bills defense is vulnerable to this Joe Burrow attack. I would love to see T. Higgins back. We don't know his status yet. But the Bills are going to do whatever they want offensively against the Bengals. And I checked the weather. It's going to be cold. There is a chance of snow, but very light winds right now projected, less than 10 miles per hour. So I think this is a game where both offenses have, a ton of weapons, 2 great quarterbacks, and you have basically desperation on both sides. The Bengals to keep their season alive and the Bills to stay in the playoff race there and keep their position in the playoff race. So I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go opposite you. I mean, the Bills do have some talented guys on defense, and to limit the Steelers against the run specifically, under 60 rush yards, under 110 passing yards. And then for me too, on offense, I mean, like I said, it wasn't the Josh Allen show. It was the James Cook show, but that's because they ran the ball like crazy. They gave him the ball 32 times, and then he led the team in receiving yards, but it was just 33 yards. So the offense did not look explosive at all. The defense, though, was able to limit explosive plays, and also they control the pace. They have been all season. They're playing at the slowest pace. And for the Bengals, I think Joe Burrow coming back inspired the defense too. And RJ, I know you talked about the Bengals, quietly looking better on defense in general. And I think we certainly saw that here. The 5 turnovers I talked about, the 4 fumbles, a pick. In general, they've been an under team, a lot of that having to do with their offense, but I think the defense showing up now makes me feel even better about this. 4 of their 6 road games have stayed under, and maybe the defense is not as successful in this spot, but I do think they're going to put up a fight and help me cash this under. So everybody watching, let us know which side you like, because we were all on opposite sides. After this break, we're going to rip through the rest of the 1 p.m. slate. All right, Will, coming to you first. We got Titans and Browns. Browns laying 4 here. And the Titans just continuing to tighten. Just 1 win on the season. Offense been abysmal. That's why we're seeing this low total at 33 in the hook. They managed just a single field goal against the Jags. Didn't score for the last 55 minutes of the game. Cam Ward has been attacked every single game. Took another 3 sacks, some other big hits. The defense was okay, but the offense, no. Browns got Shedeur Sanders in his second start. People were hyping him up. Don't know why. They managed just 8 points. He took 3 sacks, under 150 passing yards and a touchdown. So not very inspiring from either side, which is why we're seeing this total so low at 33 in the hook. But despite all of that, Will, you're going under.
Yeah, I mean, literally the only concern with the over here, and you can see the LOL there. LOL. I mean, 33 and a half. Like, how foul is this total? The only concern is that we get like 3 defensive touchdowns. Like, I mean, if you're gonna bet this game, just bet Brown. And by the way, shout out to the Patriots. Shout out to the Patriots defense. I hit a first touchdown score. Pat's defense.
There we go.
28-1, and that was nice. Plus a Pats defense anytime. Like, bet the Browns defense first touchdown scorer, the Titans defense first touchdown scorer, each defense 1 touchdown, anytime touchdown, and then each defense 2 touchdowns, and then take the under. And if it doesn't hit, if you don't get any of those defensive touchdowns, you're getting the under. Neither of these teams is scoring on offense. I just think we see a final score that's like 13-10 at best.
13 maybe is the Titans number because RJ's going under on the 14.5.
Yeah, Tennessee has scored 14 or less in 7 of their 12 games, and Cleveland's defense has taken over against bad offenses this year. I think they can cover, though. I think about that Dolphins game where they had 200 yards of offense and won by 25 points. Last week should not have been that much of a blowout. It was special teams errors, and it was one, I don't know what he was thinking decision to go for it from his own 32-yard line with his offense, and how good that defense was playing. Just punt the ball, man. Like, that's all you got to do. Those 3 combined for 3 touchdown drives with less than 35 yards, something you never see in an NFL game. So that tells you defense probably should have held that game to something like 13-8, and it got out of hand. I do think the Browns are probably the side there. I think Sanders can hit a big player too, but yeah, this is probably gonna be an ugly game. The one regret I have is that we're not putting this 1 week later when it could be like, the sequel to Army Navy on Saturday. So that would be great to have this.
That is good correlation to college football. All right, Larry, talk to me about why you like the Titans. We're heads up once again.
Well, I hate their offensive line. J.C. Latham looks like a bust right now. Cam Ward has been hit and sacked more than any other quarterback. Their receivers don't separate. Sounds like I'm making the case for the Browns, but yet when you look at the Browns offense, 29% success rate with Shedeur Sanders in there, and a lot of those yards that they did gain came on one busted coverage. So this just is not an offense that should be laying 4 points. I will say, special teams count, and the Titans have covered, when they've covered 3 of these last 4, a lot of it has been because they have very good special teams, and DK is a great returner. So I do think there is a chance for the Titans to have the edge on special teams to help them cover, but this just comes down to there's no way I could lay 4 with Cleveland.
Yeah, this is where I would put the throw up emoji like Will does when he doesn't actually like a play. But just thinking about Cam Ward, I hope the dude has a sponsorship with some ice bath company because he's been sacked 48 times. He's been hit 85 times, and he hasn't faced Myles Garrett yet. good luck, because the dude's getting like 2 sacks a game on average. Cleveland leading the NFL in sack rate, highest pressure rate, second most quarterback hits, and they're just not allowing points, 16.4. They're not putting up points. It's not a pretty game, but I just think the Browns have the massive advantage on defense. And the Titans just struggle overall. At this point, guys, they have a 48% chance of landing the number 1 pick. Why don't you just keep losing?
By the way, you did get your throw up emoji, and this game is not on CBS, so we are allowed to talk about it in the fashion that it deserves to be talked about. Don't watch this game. This game sucks.
Yeah, this game's terrible.
We'll move on. The game on Quibi or something, like just get it up for everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
This is like the game that the ACC throws every week. The ACC has a deal with the CW and has to throw a game on the CW every week. This is the ACC CW game of the week.
I will say though, like if this game, I've been live betting a lot of these games, and if I get a 7 on either side, I'll probably take it. So maybe it's just a live bet game. Stay away before, or just don't watch it. Commanders Vikings. We don't care. It's not on CBS. Vikings laying 1.5. 2 now. Total at 42. Commanders coming off 2 straight overtime losses. Jaden Daniels expected to return shortly, they say. Do we have any update on that? Are we expecting?
Don't know yet. I think it's probably still around 50-50.
Yeah. Okay. Max Brosmer coming in made JJ McCarthy actually look good. And he is expected back. No more concussion symptoms there. So let's talk about this game. And I'll come to you for Larry.
I like the Commanders, especially as 2-point dogs. You know, Marcus Mariota is getting a starting job next year, the way that he's playing right now. So even if Jaden Daniels doesn't come back, very happy to have Marcus Mariota, because with Terry McLaurin back, we saw what that offense can be against a very good Denver defense. And they got Deron Payne back on the D-line. They got Will Harris back in the secondary. And they've had 2 spirited efforts in a row. You know, the overtime game against Miami, the overtime loss to Denver. And I just don't want any part of this Minnesota team with the way that they're trending. And JJ McCarthy coming back, to me, it does not inspire confidence. So I'm going to take the dog.
RJ?
Yeah, just think about this. Like, there's a chance Jaden Daniels coming back. So we could be catching points if we put in Commanders +2 right now with Jaden Daniels against JJ McCarthy, a guy that we have seen played football this year. Like, it seems like the market is thinking about JJ McCarthy as like a concept. Yeah, like they haven't seen him play the last few weeks before his injury. Because I know Brosmer was bad, but how do you adjust them to favorites in a game when you've seen that guy play football? So to me, you know, even if you get Mariota in there, he played an even game with the 10-2 Broncos. Washington's offense looks strong with McLaurin back. I have much more faith in them offensively, obviously. And then the defensive side, I don't think it matters when McCarthy or Brosmer is your quarterback. So love getting Commanders +2 here. I don't understand making the Vikings the favorites here.
Yeah, I thought the books would bake a little bit more into this line. Jaden Daniels coming back, and JJ McCarthy, it's not like he's looking wildly different. Max Brosmer had a terrible first game, but still, I don't understand this line either. We're all on the Commanders, so we'll put a bow on it.
Yeah, I mean, like RJ said, if you get Jaden Daniels, you're probably, we're recording this on Wednesday. You're betting on the Commanders +2, and you're going to probably see them be favorites if Jaden Daniels comes back. But maybe the line doesn't even shift that much because Marcus Mariota, as Larry said, has been really good. Like JJ McCarthy is not good, and the Vikings don't have a choice. They can't roll out Max Brosmer again, right? I mean, like that was a disaster. So you're going back to McCarthy because he's healthy, but I think the Washington defense is going to give him a lot of problems. And conversely, with a veteran like Mariota there, I think he'll be able to handle the Brian Flores pressures and get the ball out of his hands, move around plenty. He's very mobile at his age. I think he made the case this should really be a pick'em.
Yeah, I agree. That being said, I threw them in a teaser just because, getting through the 2 key numbers and I needed a leg. They've been beat up by the good teams, but they put up a good fight with the Dolphins and the Broncos. This is not a good team, so I understand why you wouldn't mind the regular line. Like you guys said, Terry McLaurin being back is a massive boost for this. For the Vikings, too, keep in mind Aaron Jones banged up. Their O-line is banged up. It's a gross game. they probably could win this outright, but I will grab over a touchdown. All right, we got Saints and Bucks. Bucks laying 8.5. We got the total set at 42 in the hook. Bucks snapped their 3-game losing streak, but we got a note. It was a 3-point home win against a 3-win Cardinals team. Baker clearly still banged up with that shoulder. Saints were able to keep their game close against the Dolphins, but the offense still unable to produce points. Larry, and that being said, you're going under in this game.
Yeah, they've been an under machine, 9-3 to the under, the worst red zone offense in the league. So even when they do matriculate it down there, they can't cash in. And the Bucks, their offense is not the same. Even though Godwin is back, or Bucky is back, they have just not been explosive. In fact, if you look at the last 3 games, they're 4th worst in terms of yards per play. So to me, it's just another under.
All right, Will.
I think it's like pinch your nose and take the Saints here. That's a lot of points for that low of a total. And as Larry points out, Godwin back is nice. Mike Evans, by the way, they activated his 21-day practice window on Wednesday. In theory, he could be active for this game. I think it's much more likely that it would be 2 weeks at best. And yeah, thank you, producer Ben, for tossing that. We got vomit emojis everywhere today, by the way. Yeah, I mean, the slate's it's not a gorgeous slate for late in the season. There are some good games, but yeah, I think Tyler Shough should be able to move the ball enough against the secondary. Could see Chris Olave breaking free for a touchdown, and I really just think you need like maybe 13 points from the Saints here to cover this 8.5, just because I expect the Bucks to try and pound Bucky Irving and Rachaad White and just sort of find a way to win and to keep Carolina. They've got a monster game against the Panthers coming up in 2 weeks for the division. So this one matters as well, obviously. But I don't think this is a bust everybody out and try to go obliterate the Saints with a high flying offense situation.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints are awful, but 8.5 is a lot of points, which is why RJ, a man after my own heart, are going with a teaser.
Yeah, I'm teasing the Bucks down. They were outplayed by Arizona in that game. The decisive field goal was a 0-yard drive. They got a turnover on downs on Arizona's 39-yard line. Didn't go anywhere with the ball, and then kicked a long field goal. But Arizona was the better team in that game. It looked like, because we know Baker playing with an injury did not look 100% in that game. I cannot lay a bunch of points with a team that looks like that right now, even against a bad New Orleans team that is going on the road in this game. Their defense actually had 3 straight strong performances. So I think Tampa probably wins this one by 3 or 7 rather than double digits. And that's why I'm teasing it down. I think a point with those vomit emojis that actually, it seems silly, but I think it's a good point for the viewers. Like, you don't have to bet every game. We're going to be here giving you our favorite picks in each game, but a lot of them are leans. And I guarantee nobody on this call is probably betting all 16 or 14 games, I guess, this weekend. So pick your spots. And if you don't have a lot of confidence in something, like with some of these games like Bucks and some of the other vomit emojis we've seen, just stay away from it.
Wise words. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say too, we do the Circa Millions contest, and you have to pick your 5 favorite games each week. And it's perfectly fine when you're picking out what you're going to bet on for the week to sort of take that approach and pick your 5 favorite games. Like, you don't have to bet on the Titans and the Browns. Like, if you see something you like in that game, go for it. But you don't have to bet on this game either. You don't have to bet on any game. Find the best angles.
That's true. But that being said, the Saints are cashing the under at the highest rate. And I know, because I've been cashing with them. So I'm certainly going under on this game. The Bucks have struggled at home. Baker's not 100%. It's an under for me. Colts Jags. Colts laying 1.5 here. Total set at 47 in the hook. The Jags beat the Titans, speaking of, easily in week 13 for their 3rd straight win, 4th overall in the last 5. Colts on a skid. Lost 3 of their last 4. Daniel Jones doesn't help that he's playing on a broken fibula. They just lost their star corner and recent acquisition in Sauce Gardner. But still, they're a road favorite here. Does this feel a little disrespectful to anybody? It looks like we're seeing a lot of Jags here. Yeah, with the points. Okay, RJ, talk to me.
Yeah, I was kind of championing the Colts a few weeks back. I thought the market was discounting them and not giving them enough respect. But this is a much different team, with Daniel Jones playing on one leg effectively. It looks like he does not have the movement to move around and make that offense as dynamic as it needs to be against good opponents, as we've seen the last few weeks. Sauce Gardner being out, that was a major acquisition for them. They played the first half of the season without him. So, it's not like they're completely gone and discount them completely. But that's a major factor for their defense, not having him in against a team that can throw the ball, and brought in Jacoby Myers at the deadline. Brian Thomas Jr. now healthy, has a lot of weapons you have to contend with. Brenton Strange now back. Last 2 weeks he's had an effect on that offense. So Jaguars have a lot of weapons that you have to defend. So I don't think Indy is the significantly better team with Sauce Gardner likely sidelined and Jones playing hurt. Jags have to have this for the division race. They know with 2 games against the Colts, they can't lose the one at home, or it's basically game over for them. While Indy has that, kind of back door of we can go win the next game, get a little bit healthier when we have the rematch. So I think Jaguars come out motivated. I know Colts going on the road outside like to fade them in that spot as well. So I think this game should probably be pick 'em. I like the Jags here.
All right, well.
Yeah, I think the wrong team is favored here. And if you go and look at the division odds, the Colts are plus 140 roughly, and the Jaguars are plus 145. And it's basically a coin flip on who's going to win the division. As RJ mentioned, Strange playing really well. He came back from injury. Brian Thomas can be back. I think this is I think this could end up being a sneaky shootout. You see that total kind of surprising there. Everyone's going to be gravitating towards Bills and Bengals in DFS, but I think this is one that you can absolutely look at. And I just think the Jaguars find a way to win this against a Colts team that, by the time everyone sort of came around to, okay, the Colts are legitimate. Like, all right, we were wrong. The preseason expectations out the window. Now it's like, all right, now it's like, we've crested. It's jumped the shark. I think the Colts are struggling and limping to close. Jacksonville's going to win that division, in my opinion.
Yeah, Larry, I know you have a prop here. I'm going to take the Jags as well. So just quickly here, the Colts offense has cooled off. And like you were saying, Will, we were waiting for that fall from grace for Daniel Jones. All the Daniel Jones stands were like, there's no way, that he's going to turn into a pumpkin. And he did for that stretch. He's played clean football, I will say, over the last 2 weeks, but that still hasn't managed in a lot of points. So I don't think they're going to put up enough. And I think that their ground game is going to be stopped by the Jags, or allowing the fewest rush yards a game. Of course, that doesn't help when your best player is Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield. And the Jags are the second most profitable team right now covering at home. And yeah, this line doesn't really make sense the longer I look at it. So yeah, I like the Jags here. How about you, Larry?
Well, I think the Colts would love to come in and run Jonathan Taylor 25 times, but the Jags are the #1 pass funnel defense in the league. They are getting the highest pass rates against them, and you can attack them, in various areas, but especially over the middle of the field. I mean, look what Bowers did. You look what Trey McBride did against this Jaguars defense. They absolutely torched them. So I think Tyler Warren is going to be targeted, 7 to 10 times. I love him to go over 51.5.
All right, we got a prop for you after the break, 4 p.m. slate. Larry, coming right back to you for Broncos Raiders on the 4 p.m. slate. Broncos laying 7.5 here, total at 40 in the hook. Broncos have won 9 straight. 7 of those, though, by 1 score. The last 4 games by a total of 10 points. We saw the Raiders keep it close against the Chargers to start, 7-7 at half, and then ended in a blowout loss. But you like what you saw in that first half?
Well, you also have to like the fact that you have a lot of young guys fighting for jobs for next year. You also have to like that it was 10-7 the first time around, where the Raiders were right in there. Giants, Jets, Commanders, and Raiders are 3 teams that the Denver Broncos have been unable to blow out or even win by, more than a touchdown. So to me, that you got to take the points with how the Broncos just keep having these narrow escapes.
RJ?
I'm going to tease the Broncos. They refused to put games away. They only beat Vegas by 3 a few weeks ago as the offense struggled in that matchup, like Larry said. I can't play the Raiders, though. You're a brave man. I did it last week for the last time, taking the Raiders this season at plus 9.5. A game they were competitive for a half, and then they were just like, yeah, what's the point? The season's over. So I don't know if that carries over to this matchup in a non-primetime game here. It looked like they packed it in, but I'm not going to trust Denver laying a touchdown on the road against anyone, even the worst teams in the league, because they are one of the worst 10-2 teams I've ever seen. That's some people are going to size up the Patriots and say I can't wait to bet against them in the playoffs. Denver is the team. Like I will take anybody on any spread against Denver in the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, you can't trust their offense. It's their defense, but there's also some other solid defenses around the league. With all of that said, you're looking at an under here, Will, on the Raiders team total.
Yeah, I mean the Raiders stink. It's just like they have Brock Bowers and that's it.
Yeah.
16.5. It's a little juicy. I get it. I do think Denver will come into this game and just sort of flex on defense. You could probably put Patrick Surtain on Brock Bowers and just like dare the Raiders to throw dump offs to Ashton Genty and see what they can do as your pass rush gets home against a bad offensive line. And poor Geno Smith just taking hits and throwing picks. I mean, I don't see the Raiders scoring much here. And look, the total 40.5. They're anticipating Denver just feeding RJ Harvey and trying to get out of Dodge with a win as they chase that number 1 seed. So Raiders team total under for me.
Yeah, it's a full game under for me. Like I said, the Raiders were able to hold the Chargers to just those 7 first half points. They absolutely fell apart in the second, but that was promising. I'm more focused on what they countered with 2 3-and-outs and 2 turnovers on downs in that second half. And OC Chip Kelly was probably on his couch like, see, it wasn't my fault. This team just sucks. Broncos calling card, as we've talked about, is their defense. So they are one of the most profitable teams going under. We will go under. Bears Packers. We'll try to rip through these a little bit quicker. Bears Packers. Packers laying 6.5. Total at 44 in the hook. Will, talk to me.
Yeah, I think it's a little disrespectful of the number 1 seed Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson. If it's not Mike Vrabel who's the coach of the year, it's Ben Johnson. Which is crazy to think that like Shane Steichen might be just like completely fading out of this conversation after the Colts hot start. The Bears, I do worry a little bit that they're have a touch of paper tiger to them. But both the defense and offense have been playing pretty well. They seem to have just kind of come together as a team. That locker room believes they can win. And there's no Aaron Rodgers here. I do think there's a chance that Jordan Love just goes nuclear down the stretch and like steals the MVP from Stafford or Drake May. I don't think that's out of the question. I also don't think it's out of the question he throws no touchdowns here. They pound Josh Jacobs, and the Bears score enough to stay within the 6.5.
Yeah, RJ, I understand the Packers had a big Thanksgiving Day win. Jordan Love, the O-line looked great, but the Bears are the 1 seed right now. They're coming off a big win on Black Friday over the Eagles. 6.5 does feel a little disrespectful.
Very disrespectful. I mean, 9-1 in the last 10 just dominated Philly. I think Philly is kind of in that same class as the Packers, as a team that we know the ceiling is nuclear for them, but they're very inconsistent. They can show up and struggle against teams, especially scoring points on offense. And Chicago's offense would look great running the ball against Philly. They can run the ball in this matchup because Devontae Wyatt is now out for the year. We saw that when he got injured against the Cowboys, that defense completely fell apart, and the Cowboys went from scoring 3 points through almost a half of football to 40 points by the end of the game. Chicago's cornerbacks are back. They got Jalen Johnson back and Kyler Gordon back. They're going to give the team an edge in the passing matchup against this Packers offense that doesn't have a lot of great offensive pass catchers. With Tucker Kraft out, Jaden Reed might be back, but long way off for him. Matthew Golden not rising to the occasion here. I think this game probably should be Green Bay -4 at best. So I really like the Bears at +6.5.
Yeah, for a divisional game too, I'm just surprised the market even set this number here. They said Larry's like, you guys are crazy. I'm laying the 6.5. Did you see Jordan Love? 4 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not running to the window, but, I do think this Bears bubble is going to pop at some point, and it might be against a Packers defense that given up 3.6 yards per carry at home. You have not been able to run on them in Green Bay. And I also think that Micah Parsons and company are going to make some plays because Caleb Williams has the longest time to throw in the NFL. He's been holding the ball longer than anyone. And I think this is a week where you do see a couple of mistakes. And, but I have to admit, I've been wrong on the Bears. I thought the bubble was going to burst, but I think this is the week that it will burst.
Well, Larry,
but I love that locker room celebration that we're showing.
But that is so.
And by the way, well, he did that. So there's I can't remember the name. I should give him a shout out. I can't remember the name of the hot dog place. It was a hot dog stand that is known for going viral stunts. And they said if Ben Johnson takes his shirt off in the Wiener Circle, shout out to Wiener Circle. My buddy Dallas knows the guy who runs it. So apparently a great guy. The free hot dogs for Chicago. This is a man of the people, Ben Johnson.
Dude looks like Lane Kiffin. He must do hot yoga. Quickly on the Bears +6.5. And he always posts on Instagram. He has like a 6-pack, which is kind of impressive. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to grab the points. I think it is also disrespectful. They ran all over the Eagles. They held the ball for double the time as long as they can keep Jordan Love off the field. We've seen this Green Bay offense, despite the talent, dry up at many spots. in the season. Bears 5-2 ATS on the road, one of the most profitable squads. So I will back them. How about Rams and Cardinals? We got the Rams laying 8 here, total set at 48 in the hook. Cardinals coming off another close loss to the Bucks. Rams, did they? What happened? Oh, right. Yeah, they lost to the Panthers. Will, right? That's what happened. Yeah, they lost to the Panthers.
Yeah, but yeah. I think I said last week. I mean, I ended up taking the Rams. I think I did say that it smelled a little fishy, and I kind of like the Panthers. I kind of like the Cardinals a lot here too. Honestly, I think this is too many points. Rams second week on the road. I do expect them to try and get right in this spot offensively. But I also tend to think that they'll probably try and run the ball a lot, although this total jacked up. This could end up being a shootout. Jacoby Brissett and this offense, they're just, we didn't have Trey Benson or Marvin Harrison at practice Wednesday, which is a little concerning. They've still got Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. They got weapons to keep pace with the Rams. I think they stay within this number and certainly have backdoor cover potential. So 8 just feels a little too high for me.
Yeah, Michael Wilson, a revelation for them. Now you have both guys on the outside. RJ, you're on the same side here. Going to grab the 8.
Yeah, Arizona staying competitive with Brissett at quarterback. Like I mentioned, I thought they outplayed Tampa last week with Will Johnson back on defense. Even if the Rams offense gets back on track here, I do like Brissett to backdoor a cover, like was mentioned, like just mentioned. Outgained San Francisco by 200 plus yards, and that's their only home loss of more than 4 points this season. So they played well enough in that game, I think, to cover. Just a lot of weird things happened in that game because they gained all those yards. So plus 8 seems too high for me. I think it probably should be 7, maybe even a tick lower, but the Cardinals are not getting any respect right now.
Larry?
Well, when the Cardinals have faced their division rivals, and there's 3 good teams in their division, they were down 38-7 to the Seahawks at half. They were down 25-10 to the Niners at half and gave up over 40 in each of those games. I'm just going to play the Rams in the first half because I do agree with you that Jacoby Brissett is excellent at garbage time and racking up the yards. We've seen him do it time and again. So I think the Rams come out angry and lead by at least 6.
Yeah, I like the Rams. I don't like this line, so I'll tease them down. 7 of the 9 Cardinals losses have been by 1 score. They're putting up offense. You guys just talked about it. It's not always resulting in points, though. The Rams offense has looked unstoppable for the majority of the season. I like them to bounce back here, but 8 points is a lot to lay on the road. So I will back the Rams, but tease them down. Sunday night, Monday Night Football. Oh, just kidding. We'll do that on the other side. We'll be right back. Just so excited. Sunday Night Football, Texans, Chiefs laying 3.5. We got the total set at 42. That's down from Sunday's open at 43. Texans have won 4 straight, 5 of their last 6, 2 games over 500, back in the playoff race. Chiefs coming off a crucial loss to the Cowboys. Is it crazy to say it's pretty much win out to get into the playoffs now for the Chiefs? Let's come to you first, Larry. You're going to grab the points of the Texans.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that. It's definitely a desperate spot for the Chiefs, but the Texans, like you said, 4 straight wins. They held the Bills and the Colts under 20 points a game. This is the number 1 defense in the league. And when they lost that wild card game there, they also only gave up 215 yards. So they've had very good success. And I think their defense might be a little bit better now. If you're giving me over a field goal, I got to take it.
Yeah, the Texans are the top defense in the NFL. They've allowed more than 20 points just twice all season. And I know it's Patrick Mahomes, but he's taken 16 sacks, has 5 picks over the last 5 games. They don't have a run game good enough or consistent enough to take the pressure off Mahomes. The hook certainly pushes me to take the points. With that said, RJ, you're not expecting at least 43 points here? You're going under 42?
Yeah, under 42. 5 of the last 6 for Houston have been under 42. 4 of 6 for Kansas City. If you only count regulation, and both teams have to have this game, we see in those situations, maybe tighten up a little bit. And I think both defenses are playing better than the offenses at this point. The Kansas City tackle situation worries me. I do want to love them at 3 because I think the line should probably be 5.5. But if Wanya Morris is starting at left tackle, it's going to be tough against that Houston defensive line. And I don't know if I want any part of the Chiefs. So still mulling over what to do with that game, keeping an eye on the injury reports later in the week. I will put a pickup on SportsLine one way or the other on one of these teams, either Texans plus 3.5 or hopefully Chiefs minus 3.
Well, Will wants a piece of the Chiefs.
Yeah, this line stinks. Why are the Chiefs laying 3.5 points? Like, who wants to take the Chiefs laying 3.5 points? The Chiefs can't win. They're terrible. They gotta have that. They must have this win. It's a must-win game. They have to win out to probably to make the playoffs. I think Mahomes finds a way to get it done here. I'm going to trust in the Reed Mahomes magic and back the Chiefs laying the 3.5. And as RJ notes, hope for a good injury report that maybe scoots this line up a little bit.
All right, cool. Monday Night Football, Eagles laying 2.5 against the Chargers. Just kidding. It's up to 3 now total at 40 in the hook. Eagles coming off that loss to the Bears. Chargers coming off a win over the Raiders, but Justin Herbert banged up in that, needing surgery on his fractured left hand. It does sound like he will play in this, though. RJ, I'll come to you first. You like the Eagles laying 3?
Yeah, locked it in at 2.5. Still like it at 3. The defense is due for a big game against the Chargers beat up offensive line that, as we saw, struggled for a half against the Raiders of all teams. And they're either going to face Trey Lance or a limited Justin Herbert, who can't do what he wants to do holding the football. We saw how much of a problem that was last week after that hand surgery. So Chargers, easy part of the schedule is now out of the way. They have to face Philly, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, and Denver down the stretch. I think this team might miss the playoffs. I think they're an interesting missed playoffs bet at this point, just because that schedule's so brutal. And because now they're so beat up on the offensive side of the ball. I like the Eagles. They're due for a good game here.
All right, Larry?
Yeah, and they have allowed the most pressure in the league. So if you're going to put out a limited quarterback against that Eagles pass rush, to me, that's a bad recipe. And like RJ said, a lot of their wins have come against the bottom feeders. This is a step up.
Will?
Yeah, I had the Eagles minus 2.5 in my Bet It Now column yesterday on CBSSports.com, and Justin Herbert had surgery. What do you? I mean, like, I get that he's like likely to play. That's insane. I mean, I know it's not his throwing hand, but like one hit and you're going to screw up like a big medical procedure for a franchise quarterback. It's crazy. I think it's mostly Trey Lance in this game. I think maybe they're playing a little bit of cat and mouse here. Eagles defense, as RJ notes, can get after the quarterback in this spot. I like the Eagles to win kind of big here.
And we showed you guys the graphic last week of just how bad this O-line has been without Jawalt. So I agree. I think it's going to be hell for whoever's under center. I'm just going to go under on the game. Chargers defense has been one of the best against the pass, allowing the fewest explosive passing plays. Okay, let's take a look at records. What happened last week and what we like for this week. RJ 7-6, 1-0 last week. Larry 0-1, 4-9 overall, and you were head to head with Will Brinson because he also didn't win last week. He is also 4-9, and your girl is 9-4. Rams team total, ugly game, and they lost, but they cashed. All right, this week, what do we like, Larry Hartstein?
I'm going to go with the Ravens to get me out of this funk, and I would offer Will a side bet who is going to finish ahead of the other in this slot. But I just love the Ravens. The one stat that we didn't cover that has been bouncing around the internet, which is incredible. The Steelers are 0 for 13 on passes the last 5 games that have traveled 20 yards in the air, 0 for 13 with 3 picks. So they just cannot complete passes. I like the Ravens at home.
All right, Will.
I'm just going to get my W out of the way on Thursday, make Larry sweat that Ravens game. Jameson Williams in the end zone, even money. Likely no Amon-Ra St. Brown in this game. Think JMO takes over against a Cowboys secondary that can be got in what 54.5 point total. Should be a shootout. Jameson Williams maybe it scores the first touchdown on like the first offensive play of the game. And I'm not sweating all weekend. My feet are up on Thursday night.
RJ, what do you got?
I will offer you no side bet on who finishes first because I have to win out, I think, just to have a shot at catching it. It's been a Patriot season for you. You're doing an awesome job, so good job with that. I'm taking the Commanders plus 1.5. McCarthy has not played one good game for 4 quarters. Washington has the much better offense, showed last week they're still fighting, and we might be getting +2 or plus 1.5 with Jaden Daniels at quarterback against J.J. McCarthy. Who does not love that?
All right, I love it. Larry had to hop off, but we got his best bet. So the only one left is me, and I guess I'll just choose one of my teasers. I'm going to go Commanders. I'm going to go Rams. I think the Commanders could probably cover the regular line, but I'd much rather take the 8. I didn't realize there was so much headroom there. There we go. And then I will lay the 2 with the Rams because last week scared me a little bit, but I certainly do still have faith in this offense to bounce back. Matthew Stafford has played such clean football, and we didn't necessarily see that last week. So I think he bounces back nicely. I'll take them down to under a field goal.
Who's the Rams fan on this show now?
I've been on the Rams. You just give my Patriots crap all the time. So
I actually like the Patriots a lot. I just like to give you crap on the show.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know that. RJ likes the Commanders with the 1.5. Larry likes the Ravens -5.5. Will Brinson going with a Jameson Williams anytime touchdown. And I will tease the Commanders +7.5 and the Rams down to 2. That is our week 14 picks, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We'll be back next week, same time, same place.